This session is the leadership process. So when we think in terms of a process, the process is only a means, only the means to reaching the goal. The process is not the goal itself. The process I'm going to show you I think it's a good one-size-fits-all as far as processes go. It is an organized way to look at how do you develop a person. Okay, so we'll think of it in those terms. The leadership process is one of continual self-improvement. You don't stop looking at the basics. I talked last month about Christian disciplines. Studying the Word, having your quiet time, memorizing Scripture, these type of habits, prayer, fellowship with other believers. These type of habits, you don't lose these. You're always self-assessing, like the assessment that we just did. Know where you're at. It's continual self-improvement. We all need a course correction because we all drift a little bit and then we get whacked back into place. And continually learning things. Get plugged in. So you are continually improving yourself. You're getting plugged in God's Word and with others. You get plugged in with some ministry that plays to your spiritual gifts and preferences. I was just talking about Jonathan Chang. He and I have similar spiritual gifts, but I don't want to teach teens. I don't want to teach kids. I don't want to do this in front of a bunch of toddlers. I can't do this in front of a bunch of toddlers. I'm wasted on the toddlers. I have the gift of teaching. Doesn't mean that I need to teach fourth graders. I have a preference that God has put on my heart. Somebody else needs to go do that. And when you're trying to get plugged in somewhere, there's absolutely no harm in trying it out. I remember this guy, one of my Christian education classes, he was the husband of one of the ladies at DTS, and he was an old guy, white hair, and he came to teach us about children's ministry. And the amazing ideas that he would come up with, he was so creative, and he was like a little kid up there just bouncing around. And I thought, looking at him, if he just stood there, I wouldn't have said, oh, children's ministry. No. But you don't know unless you try. I tried the high school gig. I have a heart for people, yes, but my heart is for you all. This is where my heart is, right here.
So will you come to a sewing class?
Your sewing class? Sowing spiritual seeds? Or so? Yeah. So get plugged in somewhere that plays to your spiritual gifts and your preferences. If you don't know your preferences, go try some things out. There's a lot of different opportunities for you to get plugged in somewhere. You may be surprised at the thing you wind up liking. Maybe you do like 5th grade. My daughter went last night to Extreme Team, and they stayed out till 10 o'clock here in the gym, and they had a blast. And they're playing hide and go seek, and you have people like Ryan Yealy, who's 8'9".
That's just about right.
Yeah. You got Ryan Yealy, Melissa Neville, who they're hiding all the place, Amy Cook, Evan Wepler, and they're just having a ball playing with these kids. And Jasmine came home and she's telling me all about it and how much fun she had and how special the time was. And I thought, I could put that on for one day. I could do that. I couldn't do it every week. Those same people are in there every week, every Wednesday. Which even when you get into a ministry, there are people who shouldn't be there. And I've seen it before. I've seen them kick out the people that should be in the ministry. I've seen them kick them out. Say, this just isn't for you. To which I'm watching this in horror going, oh my goodness, I know God made this person for this purpose. Why on earth are you being like that? So, but the people that excel in that ministry, the people that belong in that ministry, those are the people that you need to follow. Sometimes you don't have a choice. Because we don't, in any church that I know of, we don't really do this sort of thing. But people will find their place anyway. If we were more actively pursuing this in our churches, we wouldn't have the problems that we have today. And our focus would be different. It wouldn't just be on a couple of special areas where you can get plugged into. The diversity of ministry that we see in 1 Corinthians 12 would blossom. And then you'd have all these opportunities for all these different people. But you follow, it's just like in sales. You find the people that are successful at what they're doing, and you do what they do. That's the sales mantra. If you're going to be a good salesman or saleswoman, you find the people that are successful and you do what they do. You let yourself be led by these people, and you be a good follower, because you're going to learn a lot from watching them. And then you support other people in that ministry. Once you're plugged in and you're following those and you're supporting those people, you're learning all about that ministry, whatever it may be. You're learning it. And you start to excel at what you're doing. And now you're at the point where you can help others to grow in that ministry. And maybe or to grow out of that ministry because they don't belong.
There's something that just came to me I wanted to share.
Please.
Something I've seen in both work. Well, for me, when I became a leader in my current role, the thing I had to learn and I struggled with a lot was I was no longer the doer. I was no longer the guy out there making it happen, getting all the praise, everybody loved him because you have to learn to humble yourself and pour into the people who are the doers. And so many times I see leadership, not only here in the church, but also at my work, where the leader's out there doing all the work, and then when there's people that need directed, the leader nobody can get a hold of them to get the direction. So work isn't getting done. It could be getting done because the leader is too busy doing the work. Where if the leader would have just stepped back, and been the director of, okay, well, here's where I need you guys to go. Here's how I need to build you guys, so on and so forth like that. You get a lot more work done.
That's it. Because one person by themselves can't do all the work. Delegation's the key. But you've got to delegate it to the right people too. So you help others grow inside that ministry or help them find a place where they're supposed to be. You develop them in the same way that you were developed. Well, what does that look like? It depends on the ministry. I mean, you're preparing somebody to go on the mission field is a whole lot different than preparing somebody to be on the elder board. Completely different. All right, so let's talk about when you're ready to lead. We talked about if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. You got to have goals. Goals are the main purpose of what you're trying to see achieved in somebody. And in this case, it would be, I want this person to teach at 2GAB. That's a goal. That's not an objective. This is the goal, somebody to teach at 2GAB. Objectives are specific steps along the way that help you reach your goal. And so some specifics might be, I want to assess their knowledge, their abilities, and their desire first. I'm not going to say, go teach at 2GAB. We did that once. And it worked out okay. And it almost blew up in our face. So you want to assess their knowledge first. This would be a good objective. Give them a small platform to practice. That's another objective along the way. You assess them and say, well, let's see how they do. And then you assess their performance. And then when they're ready, you can be a resource for them as they prepare to actually do it. So these are objectives. This is the goal. Objectives are steps in order to reach the goal. So you have to have objectives. Leadership can become so busy that this was the quote he was talking about. You get busier and busier, and you don't even know what you're doing. You're just motion without meaning. Which this happens to everybody. But if you pull yourself back in and focus, okay, wait, what's my goal? That's right. Okay, what are my objectives to get there, to that goal? That way you have motion with meaning. But beware. The more you do, the easier it is to lose sight of goals and objectives, which I like this picture of this hamster. So you're telling me my wheel doesn't go anywhere. Have any of you ever felt like this?
Sure.
Boy, I have too. My goodness. Oh, I really, really have. And it kind of stinks because you're actually doing things and you may be doing a good job at them, but you're not achieving any objectives. You're just doing things. So that's a danger. With your leadership style, flexibility is key. There's rarely any static situations. Situations and people are always dynamic. So you have to adapt to the person that's in front of you or the people that are in front of you. You know, if you're meeting with multiple people, they're going to have multiple different spiritual gifts and preferences and abilities and knowledge and motivation and all of that. So the way that you approach your leadership style with that person or people has to adapt to where they're at. You can assess them where they're in the growth process. What do they need? Can you provide what they need? Or do you need to refer them to someone else? Which, you know, sometimes in a ministry, people want to keep all the people that they can, when really some people, they need to refer them out to somebody else. Is it a person that's just starting out? Do they want to grow? Or do they just say, I just want to show up. Please leave me alone. You know, the way that you're going to lead somebody who's like, yes, I want to grow, versus, I guess. Sure, why not? I mean, maybe. Oh, I'll let you know. I've dealt with it. I met with this one guy weekly once. He's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I want to meet. He said, well, I really think we should. I think, why not? Maybe. And then we met the first time. He's like, I'm really glad we did this. Next week, I can't make it. But I'll make it next week. Week after that, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it, not going to make it, not going to make it, not going to make it. So, you know what? How about we just say this? Let's not do it. Since we've only met once and it's been 2 months. And we're going to meet every week. Do they lack competence or commitment? Are they lacking in some sort of knowledge and skills that need to be beefed up? Where's their motivation at and their desire? Are they trained? Maybe they're trained and already doing it. How are you going to lead somebody that's trained and already doing it, but they've approached you for some help? You're going to start them over with the basics? If they're a seasoned teacher and they're going to teach, you're going to start them on square one when they already know all this stuff? No. You can't pour everyone into the same mold. Big thing that it comes down to. So you've got to be flexible. You got to deal with the person in front of you. This is why some people focus on a process. And it's always interesting to me when I'm in front of somebody and I know why they're meeting with me. They're meeting with me because they want to take me under their wing and to teach me some things. I have plenty of people doing that, by the way. You should always have a mentor. Mentors, okay? Multiple people discipling you. But I will be meeting with somebody. They're not even really finding out anything about me. They're just telling me about all the things I need to be doing. And I think, I understand where this person's coming from. They have a process, and everybody has to go through this process. Everything he's talked about, I've already done. And I had lunch with somebody like that not too long ago, and I said, well, if you really want me to do that, I can do that. I have done it many times. But, oh, you have? Yeah, this is at the end of the conversation. All of these things. So make sure you analyze the person first. Assess where they are before you start doling out tasks and stuff. And this is about developing people. Even if you have a congregation of 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, whatever, if you multiply it by 0 leaders, you get the same result every time. We need people to be leading in all areas, at all levels. That's why it's bottom up and not just top down. We have top down leadership, yes. There are pastors that are over things, and there's an elder board, and there are deacons and all of that. But there's the people themselves. All right. So we're going to talk about 4 different leadership styles. Directing style is a style in which you provide instruction. It's mainly one way. Directing. Coaching, and we're going to go into more details. This is just a first glance at these styles. Coaching style is hands-on with a lot of question and answer. A lot of back and forth, where you're talking with somebody, they're asking questions, you're asking questions, they're challenging things, you're answering, you're challenged, and it's going back and forth type of thing. But you're the coach in this. But you allow for this sort of thing. Supporting style is you help someone else facilitate and support their efforts towards a task. And they'll have some shared decision making with you. They're not making decisions on their own. Okay? They are making decisions with you. The ones that make it on their own is the delegating style. You are empowering others to make decisions and solve problems on their own and make their own mistakes. And then interaction in this case, leading in this case, is going to be on an as-needed basis. Okay? Now with each of these 4 styles, there are different types of people. It depends on the person that's in front of you. The person that's in front of you is going to fit into one of these 4 styles of leadership that you need to employ on them. It depends on the situation that they're in. It depends on the ministry that they're in, yeah.
So are you saying we adapt our leadership style to the person?
Yes.
Okay, even if we're prone to one in particular,
Yes.
we can develop all of these?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you're trying to do coaching, let's say that you're going to meet with me, okay, and you're going to teach me about what I should be doing here. And you would, if you want to coach, that's what you want to do, then you're going to meet with me, and I'm going to be somebody I would have to be somebody who's not that far along, but has a desire to get there. So there'd be a lot of Q&A. The problem is I'm a lot further along. And so if you're prone to coaching, if I just want some consulting, like if I'm here, you need to take this type of approach with me. I'm not saying, listen, you need to meet with me. We need to be meeting one-on-one. I don't know what your problem is. Don't you know I'm going to coach you? Sort of thing. So if you are prone to one style, you need to make sure that it's fitting the person's situation, which we're going to go over that here in a second. So you have to read the people and their situation that they're in. And then your behavior should fit that situation too. Which
Some of that might be because of your experience, your life experience.
Yeah.
You were able to do what you're talking about here. You're able to read the situation. Hey, I've been where you are. Let me tell you what happened. It was not a good thing. And here's how I came out of it. It may work for you, but I'll help you.
Exactly. We're going to cover each one of those and what the ideal situation is. Within each of the 4 leadership styles, there are 2 leadership behaviors. One is directive behavior, which would be providing structure and control and supervising. And the other is support. Supportive behavior. You're providing encouragement, you're listening, and you're facilitating with them. So the style of leadership is going to have a mix of both. What type of behavior am I doing right now? Yeah, exactly. Now, if you have a problem and we sit down and talk about it, supportive. So the directing style, which was the first style that we looked at, where it's you giving instruction, it's high directive and low supportive. That's just the situation it is. So it's going to be more of a controlled situation and more of a one-way street. Not completely. It'll be lower on the supportive end, but higher on the directive. Coaching is high on both. You are meeting with somebody one-on-one, and you're going to be giving them a lot of support and a lot of interaction, a lot of back and forth, and also a lot of instruction and control. So when you're coaching somebody, it requires both, and you're going to be high on both behaviors. Supporting style, of course, is high supporting behavior and low directing. This is all of these slides are going to build on one another, so I hope that you have a better understanding of this. It's a process of taking your leadership style adapts to where the person is at and what they need. To the best situation of all is the delegating style, because it's low supportive behavior. This person doesn't need a lot of support, and they don't need a lot of direction. They just, when they need it from you. So the directing style is best for the beginner that has a lot of potential and doesn't know much. They want to learn. All right, teach me. Or they come into a situation where they want to learn. A good example would be a Sunday school attendee. I mean, you have no idea who's walking into that Sunday school class. You get a visitor, they sit down. You don't know what their story is. Some of the people are here, and you say, okay, I want to coach this person. Okay, I got a guest today, and I want to coach that visitor. Okay, you don't know anything about them, but you haven't assessed them, and you're going to go try and coach them. You're going to come, hey, I'm Jeremy. I think we should meet and have lunch. I'm going to start a Bible study with you, and we're going to get in God's Word, and I'm going to help you grow spiritually, and I'm an atheist. What do you want from me? I just came to this church. Some jerk invited me. Look, easy, cowboy. This is my last time in your class now. Thank you. Some people are very comfortable here. They want to sit there and listen. That's it. They're assessing things. They're learning things. So this is the best you're going to get out of that person at that time. But you're watching. You're looking to see. And this is I'm just in the context of a Sunday school, because that's my context. Yours is going to be different, unless you're teaching a Sunday school as well. Coaching style is best for the active seeker or the disillusioned. The active seeker is the one who's like, I really want to learn this stuff. Let's meet and talk. And then you're going to, this person is, you say, no, let's not meet and talk. I'm going to teach you. Why don't you just come to my class? We'll talk about Revelation together. I'll talk to you about Revelation. You can ask questions. Well, yeah, I was really hoping we could meet. Yeah. Or how about this? You know what? No, we don't need to meet. You just need to lead somewhere, man. I'll give you occasional advice, and you just do it. Just come to me when you need me. Do what? I've never done that. Don't worry about it. You're set. Take over the whole organization. It's easy. Yeah. These people are not getting the direction that they need. And you need to recognize it's high supportive, high directive. So but you got to know who you're dealing with first. You have to assess them to know what levels of each that you need to give. And any time anybody's growing, you need to recognize it. So one-on-one or a small group attendee is this target person. Who's your target? So this would be somebody who's just chomping at the bit. What a way to put out their fire if you say, oh, yeah, why don't you come to my class and just sit in there? And that's not what they want. That's not what they need. Don't give them that.
But something about that is with directing style, you can reach a lot of people. It's
Yeah.
not wide but shallow.
Yes.
But it seems like this one, as we go along, it's narrower and deeper.
Yes.
In this coaching, though, I was thinking about that. That's probably the one that scares me because it's going to take the most from me.
Yes.
I have to be high in both of those areas. So I'm thinking like that one's 100%. This other one's like maybe 150.
Which in your assessment, part of the assessment is, can I do it? Or do I need to pass them off to somebody else?
Yeah.
If somebody wants to grow and you're aware of it, don't snuff out that flame. If you can't do it, find somebody that can.
Like if you know of a coach.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
Ideally, as a leader, though, you become conversant in all of these styles and behaviors. Ideally. Because if you're going to be able to effectively develop people, you will run into every single one of these situations. The next would be the supporting style. This is a more experienced and educated target. If somebody comes to you and they're saying, hey, I really want to start doing this thing, I want to start teaching in your class, they need support from your expertise in this. So you're going to be giving support listening to them and less directing because they already have experience and they're educated. So you don't need to inform them of things. They're likely already going to know a lot of things. And they'll get frustrated if you're like, I know that you know, but let me just tell you. Oh my goodness, I went to the same class. I heard the same lecture. I understand these things. Can we move on to something else? Can we move on to the thing that I wanted to talk to you about? No, I don't have time to listen. I am directive behavior right now, okay? So you listen to me. That's inappropriate here, right? So someone who wants help from you to teach or lead with you, or they want help from you because they're leading somewhere else. So high on the support, listening, encouraging. Delegating style. This is for the peak performer who needs a challenge. This is the ministerial entrepreneur. This is, I'll say this. This is where Erica is at right now. She was going to be in this class, but instead she said, you know what? I have an opportunity to start a girls' small group, and the only day they can meet is Saturday. But I have all these ideas and all these things that I want to do, and I'm really excited about it. Jeremy, what do you think I should do? Real conversation. I think you should do that. I do. I think you should go and do that, and it's okay. If you want this content, I'll put it online eventually. Once I'm done with Revelation. And so she's been coming back to me and Dylan asking us questions about once a week. And it's not about style of what she's doing. She's asking questions about the things that she's struggling with. What does this passage mean in Genesis chapter 1? I was thinking this. What do you guys think? It's great. So providing her what she needs, instead of providing her what. Well, Erica, hold on a second. Hold on there, cowgirl. Let's go back to what you need to be here. And this, don't do that thing that you're trying to, cute though it is, your little Saturday group. Dude, that's where it's at. I'm super excited for her. She'll actually be here later to talk about it. And she wants to see everybody. So this is the written form. I've got a graphic here for you to look at. On the x-axis, we have directive behavior, the y, supportive behavior, and then we have these 4 quadrants. People actually grow from start to finish in this curve. Okay, so your leadership style and behaviors should follow this. Somebody that is in this type of, your key person, your Sunday school attender here, it's high directive behavior, low supportive. If it's high supportive and high directive, well, you're probably coaching them, or they probably need to be coached. They've given you signals saying, I want you to meet with me and let's do this.
What if they haven't given you signals, but you know they need coaching?
Oh, this is the good one. How close of a relationship do you have with them?
A good relationship.
Then you put something on your hook, throw it into the water and say, hey, would you like to meet?
Or you need to meet.
I would say, would you like to meet first? Because you need to meet is the situation. I mean, this is me talking, Terry, and I have a little bit of a hang-up talking to you about it because I know all the stuff. I know some of the things that you've done, and you've done a lot. Here's been my experience. For the guy that I say, you need to be meeting with me, that was the we met once guy. I'd done that before. I did that to Jonathan Chang. I said, hey, Jonathan, I really think you and I should meet every week. He said, yeah, sure, maybe. Yeah. And he's like waffling all over the place. It's like a fish out of water, flopping around, trying to fall back into the water. And then I kept pressing him about it. He's like, well, I'll get back to you when I'm ready. And he was never ready. If I forced it on him, then it would have been a letdown. And then what would have happened? It would have been like, well, I told him I'd be there, and I'm not going to be there. I don't really want to be there, but he really wants me to be there, and now it's really awkward, so I'm going to go find a different group to be with. I think that's the situation that could happen.
And I've got a question about supporting versus correcting. Because when I heard Terry say he needs it and you need to be coached, it almost sounds to me like you have an agenda in your head about like she or whoever it is needing to be corrected and put back on track. And is that part of coaching? The corrective part? Where does that fall in line with this? Because
if they allow,
it's touchy.
The other person has to allow it. If they're not allowing it, they're what I would call a back burner person. And we're going to hear about them, actually maybe even here. A back burner person is the type of person who is a bit apathetic about it. And what they really need is a good crisis to wake them up.
Sometimes there is a crisis. Example, you've got a relationship with a couple, and you know that the husband is not doing right by his marriage because he's working too much. And that's partially church discipline. From the standpoint of you got a brother that is not seeing about things at home the way he should, and you want to call it to his attention. And he may not be willing, he probably don't want to hear it, but he still needs to hear it.
Is this a person that you're going to lead? Or is it a person that just needs some exhortation?
It would be, let's say for instance in this example, that it's a person you're already leading.
Oh, okay. They've already submitted to your leadership in one way or another.
Yeah.
Well, all I can tell you is what I have seen. And the other person's willingness is really important.
Oh, yeah.
And if my approach would be to bait the hook, season your words, speak the truth in love, and see what sort of interest they have. And if they have the interest, then they're going to be open to listening. If they don't have the interest, even if they met with you, they're not open to listening. Especially if they think that they're justified in what they're doing. So they have to be open. But also there's the place for the exhortation in somebody to come right out and say, okay, here's the thing. What you're doing biblically is wrong. And you need to stop. You need to trust in God. God's going to take care of you. Okay, I know you think that you're providing for your family. You also need to do what the Bible says. God will honor that. And if your job won't honor it, well, there are plenty of other companies out there where you can get a job. Just not Ryan's company. They're not hiring anymore.
We are, just not those positions.
Oh, just not yet. Certain positions. So, but this is the direction that people grow. This is the direction curve. They go from being a passive here in an audience somewhere at church or in your ministry. They're just passively in there. And then they grow through coaching, and then they start to sprout their wings, and then they're flying. They're flying, and oh my goodness, what if somebody's here and you're trying to put them back here or put them down here? You're going to throw that eagle in a suitcase? Come on, man. They're going to bust open. They're not going to listen to what you have to say. You're not leading them right. You're not reading them right. You're not going to lead them right. And you're the wrong person for the job. They'll just say, well, Terry, it was really nice meeting with you. And we should do this again sometime. I'll let you know, though. I've been really busy. So if I can't do it, don't be offended.
I like the adage of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah.
But you can put salt in the roast and make them thirsty.
Yeah.
I have 3 of my 7 guys that want to be leaders. I have another guy that, man, he would be an awesome leader, but he just has no desire. So when I meet with him, I'm like, hey, you given any more thought to being a leader one day? I just don't know. I was like, man, you'd be a great leader. Please think about it. I just try and, like you said, season my words to let him know that he would be great at it. He has a heart for it. He has a heart for people. I don't know if he's afraid of making that commitment or if he's just not there yet in his life. But, it's one of those things where I just kind of keep it in front of him so that he doesn't, I don't want him to forget, I guess I could say. But I do like the adage of you can lead him to water, but because I can lead him to that trough all day long to drink the water, but until he's ready to drink it, he's never going to drink it.
That's right. And I like putting the salt in his mouth. That's really good. And that's precisely it, that sort of assessment. You see, a lot of times people don't see their own potential. And it takes somebody else seeing it, somebody else believing in them. So there's 2 areas of developing people. You can develop them in their competence and in their commitment. Which one do you think is going to be easier to develop? Yes. Competence. Competence is their ability to do a task, and that is their knowledge and then their skills of applying that knowledge. Like you can know all these amazing biblical truths, and if you're going to teach somebody, you come up here and you say, I'm blanking. I don't, where are my notes? You need skills to teach, or you need skills in whatever your context of ministry is. You have a knowledge base. It's biblical knowledge, yes, but it's also knowledge of how does that ministry run? What are the best things for that ministry? What does that ministry need? What does that ministry want? Because so many ministries are different. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. But people need knowledge of the Bible, and they need knowledge of their ministry, and they need to know the skills to do the task that they're supposed to do. That's their competence. Their commitment is their level of desire to even do the task, which is their motivation. How motivated are they? Right? How motivated would you be to go, David? How motivated are you, if I can put you on the spot? How would you like to preach? No, let me not say that. How would you like to go take care of the first graders? All I want you to do is commit for 1 school year. Just 1 school year. Will you do it?
I'm motivated, am I?
Yeah. And why not? I thought you want to do something for the Lord. Why aren't you motivated? Seriously, why not?
It's just a little too out of control for me. Just overwhelming.
Overwhelming. It's just 1 school year. It's 9 months. That's all. He's not very motivated. Now, how confident somebody is has a lot to do. It is kind of tied up with skills as well, and knowledge, because skills and knowledge bolster confidence. Some people haven't been given the opportunity to practice in excelling at the thing that they are involved in the ministry that they're involved in. So someone may have a lot of knowledge and a lot of motivation to do something, or maybe they even have a lot of skills, but their confidence in their own ability is not there. And Ryan, this would fit in nicely. If you see that somebody, really the only thing they're lacking is confidence, and you need to bolster that. But you develop people in these areas here. Competence and commitment. If they lack knowledge, if we're going to develop the confidence, if they lack knowledge, that's one of the easiest things to fix. I mean, everybody can give information and data, and here's a class you can take to learn about this. Here's a test that you need to be certified in this area, right? But biblically speaking, or in the church, it's similar to how you would develop somebody at work. You would ground them in God's Word. Everybody needs to be grounded in God's Word. If they're not grounded in God's Word and they're going to go do ministry, then what is the basis of their ministry? If it's not grounded in God's Word, is it grounded in people's opinions? Is that what God called us to do? You need to pass on the knowledge that you have to somebody that is lacking knowledge. If you're the expert in that area and somebody wants to do the thing that you're doing, then you have some expertise, that you have knowledge and situations that you've been in where you can convey that to them. And you can use the knowledge of others, because you're not all-knowing. I wonder about Terry sometimes, though, because he's done a lot. What if they lack skill? So a great thing to do with somebody that lacks skill is to provide them with a small platform to do practice runs or role-playing. If you provide that for them enough times, they'll get more and more comfortable with it. Scale is the difficulty, right? Because they can do it here with you. It's when they start to jump up that scale, and now they're going to do it with 3 or 4 people, and then they're going to do it with a whole group one day. It can be overwhelming, but it starts out with the little things. You start out giving them a platform to practice and giving them pointers about it. And finally this, if somebody's continually failing at something, with all the skills and knowledge that they have, they may need to rethink what ministry they're in. They may need to rethink what they think their spiritual gift is. They may have misdiagnosed themselves. Like I told you, it was really tried to put onto me that I have the spiritual gift of evangelism. And early on, I thought I did, until I met those that do. I don't say that I have the spiritual. I can evangelize. I do. I've done evangelism. I do evangelism. It is not my spiritual gift, but I do it. And I see fruit from time to time, but not like those people that have it. Man. So you need to reassess where they are. If you see failure after failure after failure in their skills, anybody can retain knowledge. I'm not a mathematician. I can learn math, okay? I have forgotten a lot of math, but I learned it enough I got an A in calculus, college. I got an A in calculus. I got an A in finite math. I can do math. I'm not a mathematician. Okay? That stuff, I really thought I had it, and I thought it'll be there forever. The only thing that's really there forever for me is algebra. I have a love affair with algebra. But if somebody's failing at something with their skill level, they need to be redirected. What about developing commitment? If they lack motivation. People are generally excited about the things that are near to their heart and the things that hit on their spiritual gift. They're excited about that. So they need to use their spiritual gift in their context, not in the context you want them to use their spiritual gift in, but in their context, whatever is suiting them. And here's the problem, though. It is hard to motivate somebody that is apathetic. I call them back burner people. These people require, it's been my experience, that these type of people, they're going to come to either a crisis point where something bad has happened in their life that's going to wake them up, and maybe now they'll start taking things seriously, or they're going to come to a point where a big turning point for Jonathan Chang, he was starting to grow, he was starting to do his our weekly small group lesson, and I let him lead sometimes, and he really enjoyed that. It's when he went to New York. When he went to the New York trip, man, he was ready to go. He was back burner people, and then he became front burner people. because he was ready at that point. But it's a crisis type situation. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad crisis. Maybe it's a crisis of, oh, I've been wasting my time and I realize I need to be doing something now. Would you help me? That's a great crisis. But apathy is hard to motivate. Sometimes you have to leave them on the back burner. And you just provide, hey, my door's open. If you ever want to come in. Or if you know somebody else, oh, you're doing that? Hey, you should meet with him. You should have lunch with that guy. Yeah, I'll have lunch with him. Yeah. You can't do much about these people. Now, you could even put salt in their mouth, and they might not drink. I say, yeah, I like salt. And then they grab a potato chip. What else you got? So this motivation is hard to develop. The thing that you want to try to do is point them where their heart is and where their preferences are. Preferences are important. I should have wrote preferences on here too. Because somebody has a gift to do something, but they don't prefer to do it in that context. They prefer this one over here. Don't push them to that one. If you say, hey, you could do this, you're going to sound like David. How motivated are you? David, how motivated are you? Even the answer sounded so unmotivated. Not. Right? But if they lack confidence, well, some people need a lot of affirmation. Honest ones, they don't need that, oh, you did such a good job. No, really, I'm honest. It was really good. No, you want to honestly affirm them, okay? And if you're having a hard time coming up with an honest affirmation, find one thing that they did that was great. Build on that. It spills over into other areas. Yeah, these little non-threatening dry runs can really boost confidence. Remember when Chandler did that dry run of Philemon? He did this dry run at his house. Me and Ryan were over at Chandler Pardue's house, and he taught through Philemon and 2-Gab, and he did it in the fellowship class, and he did a dry run, and he did a fantastic job. It was a good time to have some back and forth there and point out some good things. But the dry run, I think, boosted his confidence. He's a teacher already, and he was going to teach at 2-Gab, so a lot of those skills transferred over. Preparedness also. I think at least with me, one of the things that really helped me with nerves is if I was prepared for something. And I think one of the first things that I had to come into contact with were tryouts for region choir and state choir in high school, where I have to sing to these judges. And I really want it. I want to be in state choir. But if I've got to sing in front of these judges, nerve-wracking. Now they put up these sheets so that you can't see them, but you hear them back there. You walk into this room and say, number 265? Yes. All right, you ready? Yes, I'm ready. Okay, and they hit the play button on the tape. Y'all remember tapes?
Yeah.
They hit the play button on the tape, and I start singing. Okay, but I've got to sing to this nerve-wracking situation, and the only thing that gets me through it is preparedness, because every single night I am practicing in my room. Why? Why was I practicing so much? You know why I was practicing these songs so much in my room at night as a high schooler? Because I loved it. My heart love it. I love it. I miss singing in a choir. I do. But now there are things I'd rather do than sing in a choir. And I love doing those things. Why am I sometimes up till 3 in the morning preparing for this kind of stuff? Because I love it. I love it. And I have a full-time job.
But it also builds confidence, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, and then after a while, though, I don't know how the rest of you would feel. I could imagine how Shelley might feel and how Ryan might feel, but y'all want to get up here and teach something? Terry?
If I'm prepared.
If he's prepared. The preparation is key, and little dry runs, it's also extremely helpful. This is developing the person's commitment. If they don't have any motivation, back burner them. You don't have to be a jerk about it. Hey, they don't want you to front burner them either. You start getting in there like, oh, I saw that I'm supposed to coach you. Come on, stop fighting me.
Well, I mean, I like the fact you use the phrase back burner. If you're not throwing them away,
That's right.
you're just putting them on the back burner. You're not forgetting about them. They're still there. They're still in your mind. They're still in your sphere.
And we can always look at John Mark in the book of Acts, when Paul and Barnabas divided over John Mark coming along. Paul's like, I don't even back burner my foot. Put him in the shredder. I don't have nothing to do with that guy. And then the son of encouragement, Barnabas, said, I'll take him. And then years later, Paul said, I like that John Mark. Yeah, well, it's a good thing he went with Barnabas, Paul.
He's quite a guy.
Yeah, really is. All right, so here's a good graphic of what that looks like. Commitment on the x-axis, competence on the y-axis. People develop in this direction. If they have low commitment and low competence, they need everything. They need motivation and confidence. They need knowledge and skills. If they have a lot of competence but low commitment, they need to work on their motivation and their confidence. And they're dependent. All of these are dependent on others. Dependent of somebody else along the way, which you're going to use your leadership styles with each of these people here, okay, with a different mixture of leadership behaviors. But people grow in this way, and the goal is for them to be independent and developed. This is where you want that back burner person to be. A lot of back burners over here. Other people are here. They know a lot, but they're not doing anything. Why aren't they doing anything? Because they've been asked to do something they hate. So I don't do anything at church. Why not? I don't want to do childcare. Well, that's what they need. Well, then I'm going to keep doing nothing. But I could be doing so much, but nobody wants me. Isn't this sad? How many people, remember that 85% in the pew, how many are this person? Or this person? I would love to do something, I just don't know what to do. I need to learn some things.
I think it's sad when you said that, nobody wants me.
Yeah.
I mean,
doesn't that hurt?
We project that we don't want you in a certain ministry.
We have.
See, I know.
At CBC we have with a few people.
I think lots of churches do that.
I think every church does.
Yeah. We're
Likely.
The way we are. We've got all we need. You just go sit in the pew.
We don't have a pastor to lead that up yet. Sorry. We lost a really strong couple over that issue. They wanted to start a ministry, and they were well equipped to do so. But we didn't have a pastor that could lead it up. Well, now they're doing it. They went to another church where they said, oh yes, we love that, do it. And now their whole life is focused on that. It's amazing. They bought this house to help people that foster children, and it's amazing. All right, so that's developing people. You want to bring them from this quadrant or this quadrant or this quadrant into this quadrant. And give them what they need. You give them what they need. And sometimes it's you that's in one of these quadrants. Sometimes you're the one that needs to get something. Don't forget about yourself. Continual self-improvement. All right, matching people with ministries. They're not begrudgingly filling a need. You want to match them with the ministry. And if your church doesn't provide that, then you need to encourage them to do the thing that they're called to do. Maybe they need to go to a different church, or maybe they just need to do it at the church they're at. I mean, with those people who left the church, I met with them. I hadn't seen them in a few weeks, and they used to go to my class, and I met with them, and I said, how come you didn't tell me about this? Because it didn't directly, in fact, and it had nothing to do with 2Gab. it didn't impact 2GAB. I said, because it was something that was going on the side. And I said, well, okay, they said they couldn't have a pastor lead it up, but what stopped you from just starting something and contacting other people? Just because CBC said they don't have a pastor to lead it up, is CBC stopping you from doing ministry? They said, well, we're just too hurt and we're leaving. Broke my heart. I hated to lose them. And they're friends of ours. So, people need to be in the ministry. And if the thing that they want to do isn't going on at their church, chances are they can start it themselves anyway. Because this is the truth. The people that need to be there are the people that need to be there. You don't want to match people with a ministry where they don't belong. It's a waste of time. I'll be beating it. I hope I've made this point 50 times today. You have to take people's spiritual gifts and their preferences into consideration. Just because they have a gift that applies in one area doesn't mean that's the area that it's going to apply in. Maybe it's going to apply in another. Right? I think about Ryan. Oh, go ahead. I have the spiritual gift of teaching, and this is case in point. I have the spiritual gift of teaching. I don't want to teach infants and toddlers or kids. I don't want to teach youth ministry. I want to teach adults. Should I be forced to? Well, we know that you have the gift of teaching, but we really want you in there with fourth graders. I'm not going to do it. If they say, Jeremy, you can't have 2GAB and CDI anymore because we really need somebody to take care of 4th graders or 3rd graders or 2nd graders. Or we want you to do 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Buddy, if they're taking 2GAB and CDI away from me and making me do that, I'm not even at CBC anymore. Okay? Or I'm saying, all right, I won't do anything. And if anybody wants to meet at my house Sunday morning at 11, we're going to have 2GAB at my house. Or something like that. I got to do what God's called me to do. CBC's not like that, though. But this is the idea. You don't want to do that to somebody.
I should say that's a good place to interject right now, that sometimes your ministry is going to be outside of the confines of the church.
Yeah.
So, because I'm facing that right now with what I want to do. And that's interesting too, because it's like within the church, every church is a business, and so you have to kind of think of it like that. How much do you want to do your ministry? Sometimes the ministry will fit greatly within the church, but I think that what I am being called to do is not. So, just want to point that out.
How many people are curious about what she's wanting to do?
Are we going to have a day where we talk about it?
We'll talk about it. We'll do
a show and tell day.
That was a nice hook. Now everybody's dying to hear. So, and here's the thing. Ministries thrive when the right people are in it. They languish when they're not. I won't beat a dead horse. Because this is what typically happens. Oh, you can do that. Well, here's what you're going to do. I don't want to do that. You're gifted for this. This is your thing. Sorry, David. It's just you and the 4th graders for only 9 months, though. At the end of that, we'll give you a break in summer because we know you hate it so much that you need summer off. I don't take summer off. 2GAB goes on in the summer. The only summer I take off is summer and CDI. And that's because Dylan and I took the summer off because we were trying to develop other things. But I'm not taking 2GAB off. All right. I think when you love the ministry you do, you don't want to take the time off. When the wrong people are in there, when begrudgingly people that are there begrudgingly just to fill a need, it's the same situation as that. Ministries and preferences. This is one of the last things we're going to look at. People's commitment is a negative slope as things that they don't prefer, and ministries that they don't prefer, the further that you get away from their sweet spot. And their competence. Where their competence and their commitment match with their ministry and their preferences, that's really where they should be. This is just a graphical way to look at it. It's also a supply and demand curve for you economists. If they would be more committed here, then their competence needs to go up, right? So if they want to move ministries, if they would much rather, and this is kind of a good graphic to think about it, because somebody's here right now, but their goal is here. Let's say, for example, their competence has to meet that goal. Their knowledge and their skills have to meet that goal. And their preference with the ministry. So it's just one way to think about it. All right, but the end game, the final produced product of a person is that they have been delegated to do something. And now it's their baby. And that's where we want to help them to grow to. Because learning's not enough. People have to apply what they learn. So you can't forever keep them in the directing style of leadership. No, you're forever in a classroom. You're forever in a classroom. What good is that? Yeah, or, no, I'm forever coaching you. No, just stay here in this little cocoon. No, they want to do the thing. Whatever the thing is, they want to do it. So learning's not enough. Do. When they're ready, though. People need the opportunity so that they can lead and make mistakes. You don't want them to lead because they're going to make all these mistakes that you made. You have to give people this chance. And don't be afraid to let them make mistakes. It's okay. The first time I taught, it was either this room or the other room, and I was like a madman up here. And Charles Lloyd let me teach. And he said, "What do you want to teach on?" I said, "I don't know. What should I teach on?" He said, "Teach on whatever you want." I said, "Really?" "Yeah." "Okay, you got it." Yeah. Like I was literally up here scribbling on the blackboard, or the whiteboard going, "All right, who's with me?" And I look at the blackboard and there's just all this mania everywhere. And everybody's like looking at me like, "Wow." I said, "I taught you everything I know. Aren't you impressed? What about you?" And I really did. I had like an 80 points to make in my lesson. It was crazy. But I talked to Charles about it afterwards, and he said, "I knew you were going to do that." So why'd you let me do it? Well, you needed to do that so that you could experience that and see how well it worked. Well, I don't think it worked really well, did it? No, it did not. Why didn't it work well? Well, they did, around about point number 27, I was losing them.
There's a big difference between talking about failure and experiencing.
Yes. That's it too. So people learn, right? Qualities of a good leader is that they learn from their mistakes. First attempt in learning, FAIL. And here's a big one. Just because you could do it better doesn't mean that you should do it better. You know why? That generation in Judges, they could all do it better. They did it better. And what did they get? Why are 85% of the churches in decline? Part of the process is that others take over. It has to be handed off. If you don't delegate it, if you don't move people to this level, then you're going to stagnate. You're going to kill it. Or, I'm sorry, it'll die with you. And then the next generation is going to do whatever seems right in their own eyes. That was the other thing in Judges. In those days, there was no king, and everyone did what was right in their own eyes. So the whole process is to help people get to high competency and high commitment. I like this picture here. I ran track too. I didn't have a heart for it, but I was good at it. I wasn't very committed, but I was really fast. Organizations die off because it's overly dependent on one person. And that's actually a really good analogy. Because in the 400-meter relay, every guy's running 100 meters, okay? Or gal, okay? They're running the 100 meters, and how fast can they run the 100 meters in? man, 9 seconds something, and this person's on the first leg and they ran at 9 seconds, and then the next person 9 seconds, 9 seconds, 9 seconds. What if one person went against the relay team? Who do you think is going to win that? Because I've run the 400 before by myself. I've run the 100-meter relay, and I've run the 400 by myself. Let me tell you, I feel really good that first 100 meters. Second 100 meters, I'm feeling all right. I'm wondering about some things in my life by the time I'm in that third 100 meter. At the end of that third 100 meter, I'm doubting reality. And that last 100 meters, I actually feel like I'm walking backwards. It's terrible. But I'm not trained that well for the 400. But when you hand it off to somebody that's fresh, they're ready to go, and their excitement level's so high. And if you never, no, this is mine. I'm not giving you the baton. It's mine. You sit down and shut up. You're snuffing it. You're snuffing it in them. And then the whole organization's dependent on you. Dylan left 2GAB. In the first meeting, the first leadership team meeting without Dylan, I asked the question. I said, what if I would no longer taught at 2GAB? What would happen? What did Stephanie Dossett say? You weren't there. That's exactly what she said. And I thought, oh my goodness. 2GAB will die if I'm not there. What a horrific place for 2GAB to be in. So I don't want that. I'm not the baton holder for all time. Okay, because I don't want to be like Judges chapter 2. So I want to hand it off. I got to hand it off to the next generation or the next person. Doesn't mean I'm done. As soon as I'm done teaching 2GAB, well, I'll just spend the next 30, 40 years waiting to die. Terry hasn't stopped. Have you?
No, I pray that I won't.
Terry's not going to stop. Are you retired, Terry?
Yes.
No, you're not.
I'm retired from what I was doing.
You're not retired from ministry.
I'm not retired from ministry.
When are you going to retire from ministry?
Never.
Never. Well,
whenever.
You retire when you expire. That's right. When you go. When you get promoted, when you're glorified, and people say, is Terry still struggling with such and such sin? No, he's dead. He's not. He's perfect now. But the context of this, the process that you take them through, has to be the process of their spiritual gifts and their preferences. We can't forget that. And I'm afraid this doesn't happen enough in most churches. I think CBC is really trying to do this more and more. So you have to understand, though, what the spiritual gifts are as well. And then you have to have people that are honest about their preferences, because it's hard for people to be honest about their preferences when a certain need is shoved down their throats all the time. Because then they're going to feel guilty about it. Well, I know I'm supposed to do children's ministry, but I keep looking at David. I'm sorry, man. I guess you're going to do children's ministry. Guilt you into it. And then you can teach. No assessment here for you to do. Just what about you? Are you in a ministry? If you're in a ministry, does it match your spiritual gifting? Does it match your preference as well? Are you lacking in competence or commitment? Do you need to reevaluate what you're doing? Maybe as talking through these things, making you think, well, maybe I should do something else. Maybe, brother, it's solidifying in you what you should be doing. And are you ready to lead others? It's okay if the answer is no. Just realize that one day you need to. Doesn't mean you have the gift of leadership, but it is taking them through the process in the ministry, or making sure that they get to the right ministry that they should be in.